morning to our colleagues in USA. Good afternoon to my colleagues in UK, and good evening to all of you who are joining from Sri Lanka. This is uh, the session arranged by the Sri Lankan Literary Society in the United Kingdom. And without much ado, I will just start the sessions. Um, I don't think I need to introduce Ruvan Ekanayake as such. Ruvan is, he has given us another lecture in the past on a different topic. But today, Ruvan is going to talk about Sunil Santha music. And probably for those few who would not know who Ruvan is a consultant cardiologist, and he's a very eminent person, a researcher in Sri Lanka. But we are not interested in that side of things today. We are interested in his other interests, which is Sunil Santha and music and various different things. So I think last time we asked few questions about yourself, but this time my questioning is entirely on Sunil. Ruvan, just tell us how you got interested in Sunil Santha music.
I think it was a childhood love. And when I proceed with the talk, I'll be talking about how Tissa Abesekara came to love Sunil Santha. And I think there are a lot of parallels in that. So I will ask that question in the course of my talk as to how we came to listen to his music. But I remember as a small child, when I was about 5 years old, suddenly my mother, as a song was going on the radio, it was Radio Ceylon at that time, my mother said, Anna Handapani. And I listened to the strains. Of course, I couldn't understand anything. But these strains of music, I think, made an indelible mark on my psyche. And subsequently, whenever I heard a Sunil Santha song, I used to love that melody. Though I didn't understand the words, because the words of Sunil Santha's songs are usually classical Sinhala. And till you mature in that language, you don't understand the meaning. But the melodic beauty is the one that captivated me.
Thank you very much for that. Now, some of us know that you have written the most comprehensive biography of Sunil Santha, and I have the copies with you. I can't lift them up, so I just kept it on a side. It's huge, 3 volumes of Sunil Santha, his letters, his life stories, pictures, everything. Now, my interest is number one. How did you manage to collect all this? Have you got any connection with the family?
You see, I used to treat his wife. I never met Sunil Santha personally, but after his death, I had qualified as a doctor by that time. At the time that he died, I was only an intern house officer, and I had no way of interacting with anyone or treating anyone independently. But after his death, his wife came to me for treatment, and with that, the sons of Sunil Santha also became associated with me and used to come to my clinic. So when I mentioned my desire to write this biography, that is because you see in one of the Sunil Santha commemoration programs, Tissa Vesekara, the versatile cinema director, had made the statement that he was writing a coffee table book on Sunil Santha. But he died in a unit 10 years later, and the coffee table book didn't appear. And then I decided, well, if Tissa Vesekara couldn't write it, I will do it. And when I mentioned this to Leela, Sunil Santha, when I mentioned this to the Sunil Santha, the elder son, and Lanka Santha, they were all agreed, all right. And whatever material that they had, they gave to me. And because of this trust that they placed in me, I got all the personal letters and even the personal collection by Sunil Santha himself. And that actually expedited my work and actually facilitated my work because without going much into the archives, which I did, but without going much into the archives, I almost had the entire corpus of his contributions on my desk. So it was still an arduous task to prepare this volume because we are still in practice and we are not free most of the time. But I think it was a labor of love.
I need to thank you very much for doing that, Rohan, because I started the book and it was, such a gem I have read so many different books about Sunil Santha and snippets and everything, but your collection is the only one I need to have now because it's so comprehensive. Just let us know. There may be people in the audience who might want to buy the book. Where could they buy the book?
No, they can't buy the book
Ah,
because we published only a very restricted number of copies, that is 500 copies that we printed, and we are distributing it free to the libraries so that this will be there as a repository of the knowledge on Sunil Santha. And a few personal copies, of course, are distributed to people who really love the subject, which I have tried as much as possible to give. But we have most of the time we are distributing it to the libraries in Sri Lanka, a few in Australia and United States and UNESCO as well, so that research will have access to this. Now, Sunil Santha was a musician, so writing a book is one thing. Preserving his music is quite another problem for us. So now we are in the process of getting all the tracks. We have about 215 tracks made by Sunil Santha, and we are in the process of editing it so that we will have a compendium of the music of Sunil Santha in his own voice and his own instrumentation for posterity. So that will be the part 2 of the work that we want to accomplish to Sunil Santha Samaja. It is not only a theoretical writing, but also preserving the art as it was presented to us by the artist himself.
wonderful. Thank you very much, Ruvan. So, are you going to do the talk today in English, Sinhalese, or both?
Mixture.
Mixture of it, right? Okay, without much ado, I shall give you the stage. Ruvan Ekanayake.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for the introductory remarks. So I will speak on the Sunilagi Mihira, which is the musicological analysis of the songs of Maestro Sunil Santha. I don't intend to just to play popular melodies of the artist, but I want to explain what he did as a musician. He was born in 1915 and he died in 1981. He was born in 1915 and he died in 1981 and lived for 66 years. He was a man of exceptional physical beauty. Now, I mention this because Professor Carlo Fonseca, when he was a student at St. Joseph's College, attended the music lessons conducted by Sunil Santha at the college. And Professor Carlo told me he stood before us in pristine white national attire, looking like a living Greek god. And that is the memory that Professor Carlo had of Sunil Santha. In this talk, I will try to give a few examples of Sunil Santha's music and to discuss the musicological aspects of it. So let's start at the very beginning, and it's a very good place to start. And I start with Olu Pipila. Is that better? Is that better?
Much better. You got it.
Yes, yes. Well done.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay.
Olu pipila velelenewa sudete sudinango Olu nilala malegutala dennede sudunango innedi besama Dinnengubi atmala Ulunilala malgutala palanimu apimala Keliminyan ludan di petaunangu Kunis sungud pene pene anlu apa kendewanangu Menne malak manilua mala olunelala maledutala palanimu ape mala.
Before I proceed, I want to play the beginning of the song again. Just listen to the guitar work at the introit. Just keep it in mind. I'll come back to that in a little while. Next. Sunil Santha composed this song in 1944 and recorded it in 1945. He speaks of the vela, which is full of lilies. What is this vela that he's talking about? A lot of people think that he's talking about a villa, that he's talking about a pond which is full of white lilies. It is not so. He is talking about a vela. And in rural colloquial Sinhalese, vela means a paddy field. And what is this paddy field he's talking about? He's talking about the Muthuraja vela. The Muthuraja vela, which you see on this map here. You see this map here. And Muthuraja vela is now marked there. You can see it there in the lagoon, the Nigambu lagoon. It was the Raja vela. That means that was the paddy field owned by the Sinhala palace, the king's palace. It used to cultivate Muthu Samba, and therefore it was called the Muthuraja vela. People who do not know the folklore associated with Muthuraja vela talk about it being a treasure swamp. It is not so. It is a paddy field. And in this paddy field, in Sunil Santha's day, the Olu used to be a bloom and fill the pond, fill the vela rather. And Sunil Santha in his young days, because he lived in the Hiyagata, which was very close to the Muthuraja vela border. And he used to bask in the beauty and the serenity of Muthuraja vela. And this memory was retained in him. And that is why he composed the song Olu Pipila. Now, if it was a vela, how is it that he's talking about? How is it that he's talking about the Olu? Now, this is a picture of a paddy field filled with Olu, lilies. Not in this country, in Kerala, in the Marikkal area of Kerala, also the paddy fields are filled with Olu. After the paddy is harvested, the water is filled up and the Olu used to bloom. Now, I asked you to listen to the Hawaiian guitar at the beginning because that was an introduction, which was a later introduction. You see, when Sunil Santha first sang this song in 1945, which I will play for you, the original recording, there was no Hawaiian guitar. It was later in the 1960s when the Surya Records asked him to record it again. He asked his pupil, Patrick Denipitiya, to help him with the orchestration. And Patrick Denipitiya was a master in the Hawaiian guitar. He was the pupil of Sunil Santha and an ardent fan at that. He was also a great composer of melody. Now you may remember Ma Bala Kale of C.T. Fernando, Hela Jatika Abhimane. These melodies were created by Patrick Denipitiya. More than that, it was C.T. Fernando's song, which was Sinaloy Mihiramevu Mari, a very famous song, again composed by Patrick Denipitiya. So Patrick came to the aid of his guru, and Sunil Santha accepted the Hawaiian guitar to be associated with his music. Now, a lot of people have criticized the use of the Hawaiian guitar in Sinhala music, but it was an innovation, and Sunil Santha always loved innovation. Now, what I will present to you is the very first recording of Olu Pipila, which we managed to extricate from the archives, and you will see that the intro is from the tabla and not from the Hawaiian guitar, and we will play that for you now for your enjoyment. You will hear from the sounds the difference between the two recordings. Now, Sunil Santha modified old Pipila, and he could modify it because he's the one who wrote the lyrics. He composed the music and he sang it. So the total song was totally his. The words were sometimes modified by him. For example, in the very first old Pipila song, he says, Olu Male Suda Gahala. But later on, he said, Olu Male Suda Nala. In the very first recording, he made the rather naughty statement, Anna Malli Mehi Eniva, Yamu Yamu Api Hanikata Nangu. Whereas later he said, Andura Veti Geneva. So he made a few modifications of the song, and that was because of his more maturity. This is Patrick Diripitia, who introduced the Hawaiian guitar, an ardent pupil of Sunil Santha. Now, Sunil Santha was a classicist. He trained in classical Hindustan music at the Mari Stella College in Lucknow, which later became the University of Lucknow. And here is the certificate given by the principal, Professor Ratan Jankar, saying, look at the second para. He has successfully completed the Vadya Vishara, the Bachelor of Music course, Sitar, securing first position in the first division. He got a first class and he beat all the Indian and the foreign students in that group and became the first in the first division, coming first in that group in the sitar playing in classical Hindustan music. He also got the intermediate certificate in Hindustani classical vocal music in singing all the frills and ornamentation that we see in Hindustani song. Though he was a classicist in full measure, he never trained his students in classical music. He always trained them in the Sunil Sangit because he was an ardent believer that he was there to create a native and indigenous music for Sri Lanka. Now, if that was the stimulation for his lyrics, the Muthuraja Vela, from where did the stimulus come? From where did the inspiration come for the melody? The melody came from the Rabindra Sangeet. You see, Sunil Santha initially, before he went to Lucknow to study classical Hindustan music, studied in the Shantiniketan of Rabindranath Tagore, and the Tagorean influence was seen both in Sunil Santha and much more in Ananda Samarakon, who preceded Sunil Santha, because Ananda Samarakon never had a classical training. He was purely a product of Shantiniketan, if I remember right. That is why sometimes in the Jatika Giya of the national anthem and in the old Pipila song, you will find a melodic block which is identical, which is the old Dani Nisare Nisa Sadapa. That is old Pipila Malagotala is the same as Piliganu Mana Bhakti Pujaya, given it from the Helaridivala of Sunil Santha and the Kumudini book, song book published by Ananda Samarakon. Not that one borrowed from the other. No, it is not so. They did not borrow from each other. It came from the Ravindra Sangeet. So got the Indian national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. All these have these identical melodic blocks which enrich these songs. Now, we are talking about a paddy field in Muthurajavela. Now, once the Olu is there, the Olu is cleared off, and once the Olu is cleared off, the paddy is sown again, and the green paddy grows up. Now, Sunil Santha observed this transformation in nature, and he called it the Kumbure Peralia, and he composed his second pastoral song. You see, these songs that Sunil Santha initially sang must be termed pastoral songs. They are originating from our villages, the agrarian pastoral songs of Sunil Santha. And when he comes to the paddy field, he sings Borupan Kekatiya Dia Habarala Sudu all the Konango, because now the weeds, the Diapan, the Borupan Kekatiya, Dia Habarala, all have gone along with the Olu, and the Vela, Muthuraja Vela, that board of it is now filled with the green paddy. And then he sings not of the Olu, now he sings of the paddy. And that is the beautiful song Ralla Nagenna Mada Mada Sulage, which we will try to play for you now. Note the quality of the voice of Sunil Santha in these initial recordings, the first recording of Old Pipila, and now the Kumbure Peradia, Rallakanan, Madhavada Sulange. You see, the voice is very strong and it stays very steadily on a perfect pitch. And the voice is not wooden. The voice has a soft timbre quality, which is so very enticing. The singing of Sunil Santha was very well described by the poet Manav Singh, who said his singing is as if the notes from his voice are dancing a graceful melody on the keyboard. The notes are dancing a graceful melody. That was the description of Manav Singh, a great poet, describing the singing quality of Sunil Santha. In the last verse of this Kumbure Peralia, the line is, Vele pale hevane indagena api pal kavi kiyamu nango. I will now emphasized this word Palkavi, and I will tell you the significance of it a little later. He didn't say, come, let us sing a song or sing a baila or something like that. He said, let us sing the Palkavi. I emphasize this because later I will tell you how Sunil Santha was enticed by the folk melodies of Sri Lanka. Now, coming to the pastoral songs of Sunil Santha, there's another pastoral song, Yadang Palukang Ware song. This was a song composed by Sunil Santha. Again, the words were written by Sunil Santha. Even the Kumure Peraliya song was written by Sunil Santha. The lyrics are by him. He's the one who's writing these songs. And this was done on the Jala show. While two of his nephews were playing in the water, and these two nephews are still living in Australia, and they recall how Sunil Santha sat on the banks of the Jala, which was at the edge of the Kurundu plantation, of which he sings now, of the Bo Vitiyadang Palukangware, where he sings of the Kurundu Kale. Now, this Kurundu Kale was a real Kale, Kurundu Kale, in that vicinity. And one day, Pandit Amardeva himself told me that Sunil Santha once took him in the car to show his village and pointed out the Kurundu Kale and said, Mama, me Kurundu Kale diha balagana, eka diha balagana, matak kala tamai, Bo Vitiyadang Palukangware geetaya kiwwe. We will play this song a little bit just to appreciate the melody that you hear in the singing quality. The female accompanying singer was Chitra Somapal. She was just 14 years old when she sang that song with Sunil Santha before she was married to PLA. And this was the first song that she recorded, and she came into the singing field with this song, Bo Vitiyada. Now, those three songs are the agrarian pastoral songs of Sunil Santha in his early years. Late, he kept this love for the village and for the pastoral scenery right throughout his life. And one of the last songs that he composed was also a pastoral song, which is Ranwan Palasin. Now, this song is very different in the melodic structure to the initial three songs. The initial three songs have a strong influence from Shanti Niketan, but later on in his career, the musical melodies that he created had a strong relationship to the harmonic chord. And we now play for you the last song of the agrarian segment that he wrote, Ranwan Palasin, where he dreams of the development that his village will have in the future. And it is a dream that he has.
රුවන් පලසින් සන්සුන් ගමනින් ඉරුවවරේ යනවා නන් විසිතුරු මැදලිනි නිරලක් ඒ අතරින් නිගිලෙනවා තනි වූ ඔරුවෙක රුවලේ හැඩයක් එක තැන ලතවෙනවා සායම් මූලෙක වූහන් හැඩෙනු කැඩීනවා වෙල්යායක් මැද ගොවියකුකෙත් සිරි බලෙන් සැනයෙනවා උකුහරින් ගැමි කුළුවකු හරකුන් දක්කාගෙන යනවා ඈතින් ඈතින් සීපද හරකු රැවුලින් එනවා දියකාවුන් රැනක් ලහි ලහි රැගුම් බලා යනවා එළවලු පල්තුරු ගස් වැල් බර වී ගෙවතු පිරී යනවා බාල තරුණ වැඩිහිටි හැමෙක් වීඩාවිය වගුරනවා කවුදෝ හිමිහිට රාසක් පියමින් කුළුරනවා වතු සුදු මලකින් මීමැස්සෙක් මුව පොඩියක් හෝලනවා හරි සිරියා වයිනි සලයි ගම්මානය හැඩ වැඩ වෙනවා සම්පත පින්තිත කොන්දරිත පතුරා කිරිමුතුරා යනවා ගැමි ජීවිතයේ නව ජීවනයක් පෙරණිගෙන එනවා මාදුසුවේ සුභසීනය ළඟදී හරියට හරියනවා මාදුසුවේ සුභසීනය ළඟදී හරියට හරියනවා
Long before ABBA sang I Have a Dream, Sunil Santha also sang I Have a Dream. Madutu me super senior, the senior that he saw for his village. And the whole song is a description of what he envisaged the ideal village to be when it was complete in its development. He did not envisage the village to become a small town. He envisaged it as an agrarian pastoral village, retaining its pastoral components, but then with economic prosperity. While ABBA sang only I Have a Dream, Sunil Santha said, Madutu me suba sine langati hariyata hariyanawa. He also sang of the hope that he had. So he sang not only of a dream, but also of the hope. He was always a village man, He was never a townsman. And when President Premadasa when he didn't have a house and President Premadasa offered him a house. The officials showed him the new flats that had been constructed at Naranipita, and he said, in this noisy environment, how can I work? It is not possible. I don't want this new flat. And he took another house which was more congenial to his village mentality with more greenery and plantation. Now, this brings us to the end of the pastoral music of Sunil Santha, that segment of my talk. I will not play this. He was never a townsman, I've already said it. And this concludes the agrarian pastoral song segment of. Now I come to another important component. Now every song has several components. The lyrics are there, the melody is there, the vocalization and the orchestration. Now we have spoken of the lyrics, which is the pastoral component, which I have spoken of. There are other lyrical themes that Sunil Santha explored, but we will not talk about that in this lecture. But I want to talk on the second aspect, the melody. And from where Sunil Santha got the inspiration to create the captivating melodies that is famous for. Olu Pipila, Handapane, Sundarosamal, Kokilayange, Lanka Lanka. These we appreciate because of the melody, the beauty of the melody. Most of us don't even understand the words, and we don't even understand the musicological aspects that I'm trying to describe. But we are brought into contact with these songs because of the melodic beauty. Now, what could have been the inspiration of Sunil Santha to create these melodies? And when it comes to the inspirational sources for the melodies, we will go to the statements by Sunil Santha himself. Please concentrate on the areas which are given there in red. These are extracts from my book. These are his own words. මම එදා ඉඳලම උත්සාහ කෙරුවේ අපේ අය කිව හැවි දේශීය සංගීතයක් ගොඩ නගන්නයි. ජනකවි, පැල්කවි, වන්නම් වගේ පාරම්පරික සංගීත ක්‍රම ආශ්‍රයෙන් දේශීය සංගීතයක් නිර්මාණ කරන්නයි. So he wanted to build a national indigenous music based on the Janakavi, the folk music, Palkavi, the village Sipada, and the Mannams of the Kandyan kingdom. Then he says, E Udaviya, Vayam Karanye. E Udaviya means the other musicians. Hindustana Sangeete me rate bapuranna. Mama Gamigi, Palkavi, පිරිත් ආදී ඇසුරු කරගෙන අනිකුත් සංගීත ක්‍රමවලින් ගත යුතු අවැසි පමණ ගන්න ලබාගෙන අපේම යයි කිව හැකි සංගීතයක් නිර්මාණය කිරීම ආරම්භ කළා. Therefore, in one statement which I have given you the extract here, he says that he wishes to build indigenous music based on the folk music of Sri Lanka. Now, another statement from Sunil Santha. Mahatunge, that means he's referring here to Kumaratunga and Rapiel Tendrakon, the great Helahaula poets. Mahatunge Giha Padivalta. Now the poets have written Kavina. Now what is he doing? Padivalata Tanuyoda. He was composing music for the Kavi written by these great scholars. Tanuyoda. කඳු මැදින් ගලා යන රිදී රිද්මය රිදී දිහ පාරවල් දෙස බල බලා ගායනය කරන්නට පටන් ගත්තා. Now when he wrote this, he was in Rakmana. He was in Rakmana recuperating with his uncle, the Reverend Moses Pereira, who was his mother's brother. Now, what did he say? කඳු මැදින් ගලා යන රිදී රිද්මය රිදී දිහ පාරවල් දෙස බල බලා. I looked at the waterways, the melodic flow, the grace of these waterways, and I began to sing the Kavi of Kumaratunga and Rapiel Tennakon. Vele pale gammane gangyure indagane sellam karna vita olu nelum pipi pavane lela dena vita mata eda ඇති වුණු සතුට තවමත් ජීවිතයේ කැපී තියෙනවා මෙන් දැනේ. ඕලු පිපිලා වෙලා දෙනවා සුදට සුදයි රංගෝ කියා මාතනු ගීතය ඒ කුඩා වියේදී විඳි සුන්දරත්වයේ මතුවී ඇති සැටි. So he gives the second inspiration for his melodic creations. What was that? The waterways, the scenic beauty of Rakmana, but also we can say in Sri Lanka in general. Now, we will try to expand on the statements made by Sunil Santha. And I will play for you one of the first songs, Pasal Guru, which I want to discuss on the melodic beauty. Imagine when you are listening to their song, how the waterways of Rakwana, the waterfalls, and the twinkling streams that flow there, the rich waterways of that area, the grace of this natural phenomenon is captured in the melody of this song. You see in the last segment of the song when he says Yana Leela, giving the flow of the waterways. Even when he goes high up on the scale and then comes down, that is depicting the waterfalls of Rakwana. I will play another melody for you, another verse for you, so that you can appreciate it. The recording is not clear. That is because this is the very first recording of Pasal Guruvarya that I have played for you. He recorded it several times and the other recordings are better, but there is a special reason why I chose this particular version to play for you. You see, Visharada Dayaratna Ranatunga, when he was director of music at the SLBC, records this incident. He was walking along the corridors of the radio Ceylon and he saw on the floor a pile of records and he asked his assistant, why are you putting these records here? And they said, these are all damaged and we have piled them up here to discard. He just peered into the pile of rubbish, as it were, and he saw the words Mihikatha Nalaval. And he took out the record. It was in two pieces and it was Sunil Santha's first recording of Mihikatha Nalavala, destroyed by people who were angered by him. And then he was so aghast, Dayaratna Ranatunga was so aghast that he took the two pieces and with the engineer in the SLBC at that time, he wanted to repair this and they got down a special gum from Singapore and he repaired this, pasted it up and put it back in the archives. And that is why I have played you this deformed version of Mehikatha Nalavala, because it has been retrieved from oblivion. Now, Dayaratna Ranatunga himself, in his book Autobiographical Notes, he records this incident, he mentions this incident, and this is the thing that we have to keep in mind. Now, people who have listened to this Mihikatha Nalavala song, and it's one of the most beautiful melodies, have looked for inspiration and they have wondered, is this based on the Palkavi? No, it is not. Is it based on the Cafrinya Baila system? It is not. Is it based on Rabindra Sangeeta, or is it based on Western classical music, or Western country and music, or bluegrass, or whatever? And you can't find any musical system which could have been the inspiration of Mekata Nalavala. It was not anything of those. It is, as Sunil Santha himself said, it is from the natural beauty. He is trying to imitate the natural beauty and the grace and melody that he saw in nature. He is recreating the melody that he perceived in nature. These are the Rakwana waterways, the Handapang Island, and there are several more. You can just appreciate the beauty of this. And this is what inspired Sunil Santha. Now we have go to another song. That was Mihikata Nalavala. Now we go on to Arisen Nahubudu, a great poet. And Arisen Nahubudu was a very young man at that time when Sunil Santha asked him to write a song. And Arisen Nahubudu said, I have never written songs, I can't write a song. Sunil Santha said, you write any poem and bring it to me, I will set it to music. And Arisen Nahubudu wrote, Lanka, Lanka, Pembara Lanka. Now it is important for us because the melodic composition of Mihikata Nalavala and Lanka Lanka both follow the natural grace of the Sri Lankan waterways and the scenic beauty which inspired Sunil Santha. We will listen to this song a little while and then we will now discuss a few aspects of it.
පෙනවමු ඔබ ලංකා ඔබවමු ඔබ ලංකා දෙවිදී සුරකිමු ඔබ ලංකා පුලතිසි දැමිසිරි රහල් කුමර තුඟු පණුවන් ලද ලංකා විදුසක් විති මහ පෙරකුම් කිවි සුරු කිවියන් ලද ලංකා ඔබ රැකුණොත් ලෝකුමුවද නපහට සීත ගඟුලි ලංකා Lanka, Lanka, Pembara Lanka, Penavamu Oba Lanka Obamu Oba Lanka, Devidi, Surakimu Oba Lanka අත කොවලට උන්මුන් හට ඉදනු තබමු ලංකා අවහොත් මෙහි උල්ලුකු බඳවා ගොළු මුහුද ගෙවමු ලංකා ගොඩදිය අහසේ හැමතැන ඔබගේ නම කියවමු ලංකා අවසන ඔබට මැපුපුරට මේ කය පිටි මැපුවමු ලංකා 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 පෙම්බර ලංකා පෙනවමු ඔබ ලංකා ඔබවමු ඔබ ලංකා දකිමු ඔබ ලංකා.
In both Lanka and Mihikata Nalavala, the verse is extremely long. It is 26 syllables. But the singer does not stop in between to breathe. Sunil Santha sang without cessation from the beginning, the first syllable to the last 26 syllables, coming almost to half a minute. His voice never stops to breathe. And this is because he was imitating the natural melody of the natural beauty of Sri Lanka. Now, the natural beauty of Sri Lanka does not have notes, no? It can only have grace. It can show us the flow. And that is what he wanted to capture in these melodies, Mikata Nalavala and Lanka. And if you think that it is extraneous, that it is very strange, that the natural phenomena are going to be depicted in musical idiom, I must tell you that it is inherent in the Sri Lankan culture to depict natural phenomena by musical idiom. And the classic example is the Samudra Ghosha melody. The Samudra Ghosha, which we have learned in school, is a melody which depicts the movement of the sea. The melody that our teachers have explained to us when we were very small students, I can remember in grade 6, my Sinhala teacher was explaining how the waves come slow, then it builds up into a big wave, and it rises up to a peak and then splashes onto the shore and breaks into little rivulets, as it were. And this is what the Samudra Ghosha Kavi melody depicts. I don't think most of us know this, but I will play you the Samudra Ghosha Kavi sung by a music teacher, a very beautiful exposition, just to say that depicting natural flow and natural grace in musical terms is not alien to our musical culture.
Saraniya mini paminiya kot agata banda kikiniya dada gihiniya viman wata nova peraniya wana ramaniya vitin vita salalihiniya wadu kalaniya pura varata
Beautiful, isn't it? And that is the way Sunil Santha was also inspired to depict natural feature from a musical idiom. The Strauss brothers, they were also inspired. A lot of musicians were inspired by their natural habitat. The Blue Danube, the Vienna Woods, the lilacs of bloom. I can't no time to play for this. But now Sunil Santha in the Mihikata Nalavala, Lanka, etc., if he was depicting the natural beauty of Sri Lanka and the natural grace and the flow, there were no notes. There is no melody. He has to read the melody. But there are instances where he took the melodies from the folk melodies, folk songs, and incorporated, developed them into a song. As he said initially, Mama Palkavi, Janakavi, Vannam Piritagien. Now, listen to this song. This is from this is from the
මේ මතයි කොල්ලෝ දෙන්නේ
this
මට
is from
ගහලා
the
මගේ
film
කලින් වගේ
Rekava.
එතනටත් ඇනලා පීලවත් ආගියතක් නෑ
පුරාණ නිදි කරපන්.
The lullaby from the film Rekava, 1956, Lester James Winter's production. Listen to the lullaby, sung by Lata Walker. The music was composed by Sunil Santha. The words by Father Marcelin Greco. Listening to that beautiful lullaby, Sigiri Landakage Malvattila, we would never have imagined how this melody was created. But Sunil Santha himself told us how it was created. Do you know how? It was by developing the melody that is used in the by the traditional singers to sing the kavi of low Vada Sangarava. Ada ei maru pin karaganne, kelesada ada maru neti sitanne. And Sunil Santha himself sang the melodic schema by which he developed the low Vada Sangarava kaviya into the lullaby. And that is what we call the Tanuwaka Upata. He himself demonstrated this. And because it's a rare recording, I will play it for you. It's Sunil Santha singing low Vada Sangarava.
Kalere mahasin marunge perwanne kumatere kusalete kammeli wanne adeng adeng I maru pin kare ganne kilesere sete maru Marune සිතන්නේ අදෙන් අදෙන් මාරු පින් කරගන්නේ කිලිසර සිත මාරුනේ තිසිතන්නේ අදෙන් අදෙන් මාරු පින් කරගන්නේ කිලිසර සිත මාරුනේ තිසිතන්නේ දලසස සරිසස දලසාරි මපලා පනිදාප මගරි සාරි පා ගල්මාගරි සාරි Sari ma pamada Paida pe magari sari pa Dale magari sari sa
Amazing, isn't it? How the Lowrider Sangarava tune was brought and developed into Sigiri Landakage. And by developing that same melody in another direction, he created the Ketarike Patali Turunatava song, but we have no time to play that. But Sunil Santha himself sang the first verse there. Now, that was Lowrider Sangara. Now listen to this Sipada Kavi, sung by Professor Saman Panapiti, especially for this program, El Capello, without any accompaniment. Listen to the Sipada melody.
මල් මල් කීවාට හැම මල් සුවඳ නැත මිතුරන් කීවාට හැම දින එකඟ නැත සමන් පිච්ච මල මුදුනේ රේනු නැත පිටතට පෙනෙන හිතවත්කම සුවඳ නැත ගොඩැල්ලේ තරම දැනගෙන ලිඳ කපන බොරැල්ලේ තරම දැනගෙන උඩ පනිනු කඩුල්ලේ තරම දැනගෙන කඳ බඳිනු තමුන්ගේ තරම දැනගෙන කල් හරිනු.
You all remember that melody? We used to sing it as school boys, as school children. The Sivupada Kavya. Now, do you know that Sunil Santha used this Sivupada melody to develop one of his most beautiful songs, Mevan Pitisare. I will first play the song, but as in the Reka or Daruna, unless it is pointed out, it is very difficult for the uninitiated to appreciate the similarity. Listen to the song first.
Devan pitisare me dugi phale visinde me sonne suvan hela manage Matat sepak wede kumari kelem mani obai magi pai kiril magi pimlove pahan ob me vesila me sara legun ganim itin obe turulle obe turulle obe turulle sadala gungani itin obe turulle devan pitisare me dugi vale
because I haven't even finished half the lectures yet, but I give you the look at this slide. The Kalamala Giye Paditanu. How does it start? Papa, Mama, Gagaga, Rere, Sasa, Ga, Pasa. Below that, I give the Hela Kavitanu, which was sung by Professor Saman Panapitia. Papa, Mama, Gagaga, Sasare. Identical. The beginning of the verse of Mevan Pitisare and the Sivupada melody is identical, but the development is different. Now, for example, the Sivupada Kavya goes as pa 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 ma 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 ga 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 sa sa re sa 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 ni. That is, it develops and then descends. Whereas the Kalamala melody of the verse ascends. Papa, Mama, Ga 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 Re Re, Sa Sa Ga Pa Sa. It ascends. This is the difference that Sunil Santha made when he was developing the melody for Mevan Pitisare. Now, why did he do that? See how the Kandyan dancing goes on. Don't worry about that. India. Whole double. And you get it, and the movements are made accordingly. What's the Western dance? It is not earthbound, it is skybound. When he was taking the Kavi melody, it was earthbound, as natural that we see in our culture. He westernized it a little bit, the Western culture, by making the melody go upwards, ascending the scale. So that was how the Mevan Pitisare melody was created based on the Kavitanuga, by changing the movement on the scale. Now Kumaratunga in his Helamiyasi, which you see here, was talking about the syllable blocks. Here you have hele of 3 syllables each. Then we have heladesa, 2 syllables each. And Kumaratunga used to give this example of a poem from the Kavya Shekara, Algevilian Liagidanu Asavinda, which is from the Sri Totakamu Sri Rahula's Kavya Shekara, where he said, bring the 2 syllables together and make it 2, or expand it into make it into 3. Taking the Siupada Kavya, Sunil Santha tried this experiment, where the Siupada Kavya came as Papa Mama Gaga Re Re Re, which was what the melody of the Siupada, which he also took from Mevan Pitisare. He broke it down or contracted it into 2 syllables. The 3 became 2. So that Papa Pa becomes Papa, Mama becomes Mama, etc. Now if you sing the Papa Pa Mama, Papa Pa Mama Gaga Re Re Re, this is the Siupada melody. You break it into the 2 Demat Katia, Papa, Mama, Gaga, Re Re. And what have you got? You have got the Handapane melody verse.
Handapane ame. Diya good hem tena kiring itire, gaswell kirimu de kimire. Madamudu tulangin apanelevinni bebeline handapane. Handapane re ame. Mage podinangi kirilla, dute naga mahayil bala, ambiliyo kiyamin nelevenni bebeline handapane. හඳ පානේ ආමේ
Melody based on the Sinhala Kavitanuva by contracting the melodic accumulations is a very simple melody. When you play it on the keyboard, your hand, the fingers never escape the keyboard as such because it follows the scale. And this is where we remember the famous saying by Leonardo da Vinci, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. You think the Halwades use a beautiful tune, but it is utterly simple. That is because of the ultimate sophistication. Now, there are two songs composed by him for the films Rekava and Sandesha, which are melodies from the Sipada Kavi Minimuthu Yatata, but I have no time to play them, so I will escape all this and go on to another beautiful. Listen to the initial chorus, and you will find that the initial chorus is just the Kavi melody. And then he develops it into a song. I will only play one verse of it for lack of time. Just look what the melody. Now he develops it into the verse.
Amba kayurang api kami ni peni wagi rasu rasu inne kuhu ilayu temera pala suru panne suru min
He also was inspired not only from the Janakavi but the Vanna. Here is a rare song, Hita Atapa, a very short song, but I have no time to be explaining the Gajaka Vannama melody, which is now not the original, not the traditional melody, but there is an alternative melody used by our Candian dancers, and it was this melody that Sunil Santha used as the base to compose this song, Hita Atapa. We will play a short segment of it.
Ah
You must excuse the quality of the recording because these are what we have extricated from the archives, dust-filled, damaged records, and tried to record them. But then we have taken this a beautiful song, Hitatapa, and you may not appreciate the beauty of it because the recording quality is so poor, but it is based on the Gajagavanam. Now here is Tisabe Sekara. Tisabe Sekara was an ardent fan. He's a very famous film director, musical critic, art historian, an intellectual in the art field in Sri Lanka. No more, unfortunately. And he loved Sunil Santha songs, and he couldn't explain it. But we have found the psychological connection. You see, as a child, his mother was an excellent Kavi singer. And as a child, he was exposed to these Kavi melodies by his mother. And this was what conditioned his psyche to recognize the beauty of the Sinhala folk melody. And when he listened to the Sunil Santha songs, there is no doubt that it stimulated the strings of these melodic strings that were implanted in his psyche, in his childhood. And that is why, as a nation, Sunil Santha songs, melodies were appreciated because the nation remembered the Hela Jana Kavi melodies on which most of Sunil Santha's songs are based. He composed a new melodic tune for the Virudu. And then we come to one of the last songs that I want to play on this segment. It is already 8 o'clock, so I don't know how long I can go on, though my lecture is a little long. Now, this is one song which he composed for Ekava, where it is a song where a boatman sings while paddling in the river. Therefore, the natural beauty of the Sri Lankan nature comes in, and the river melody, the river grace is incorporated into this melody. At the beginning of this song, you will hear the long drawn-out Janakavi style in the Andahare style being played. So this is a mixture of the inspiration from nature as well as from the Sinhala Janakavi, Janagayana Shai rather, which stimulated this beautiful song for the film Reka. I'm not playing the original. I'm playing the cover song played on the Rupavahini, one of the programs. Listen to this.
Truly unlimited නම් dialogue විතරමයි.
Andahare style scene.
කිරලි කූඩු වේලගේ කුරුළු පන්ති නාද දී නගේ
කිරලි කුඩු වේලගේ කුරුළු පන්ති නාද දීලගේ නැඹුරු වේවලා කුඩා සුදුවර ඔබේ රුවඳ වශී වෙලානේ
I think the young singers did full justice to Sunil Santha's beautiful melody. You just wrote it at the bottom. When the Sangeeta Adhyaksha was put, they said B.S. Pereira. That is because the melodies were created by Sunil Santha for the film Raga. But when Lester James asked him to do the music, he said, I will give you the melody, I will create the full melody for the song, but ask B.S. Pereira to do the orchestration and the arrangement. That is why B.S. Pereira's name is given there, but it was Sunil Santha who composed that beautiful melody. The words were written by Father Mercerin Jayakoti, but now we have evidence to say that Sunil Santha at least wrote more than half that song. Because of the lack of time, I will go very rapidly now and I won't play a lot of this music. Now, Sunil Santha, when we talk of his music, I want to bring up a few aspects of fusion music, definitions. In one of the radio discussions with Sunil Santha, he mentioned the name of Miriam Makeba, a South African singer who used to sing tribal African music with Western technology. And Sunil Santha appreciated her work and said, what beautiful music she creates, and that is the way we should proceed. So he wanted the Sinhala music, the Palkavi, etc., also brought in through the Western technology. He did not reject the Western technology because certain aspects of Western music are beautiful. I will just play for you Miriam Makeba, just a few bars.
Dialogue, the truly unlimited experience in Sri Lanka.
You see, the beauty of the Mariam Makeba songs are that she sang Malaika, she sang the most famous, the Pata Pata song. But I chose this click song because she demonstrates how the tribal clicking sound is also incorporated into a song, and she retains the tribal quality, the primordial tribal quality of the singing. Now, Sunil Santha also tried this out, not with the tribal music, but when he brought in various extraneous elements of music to enrich his songs. He was never a servant, he was never abject subjugation to the extraneous musical genres, but he brought in whatever that he could to play. Now listen to the Rag Bhairavi sung by Pandit Praveen Godkinde. Not sung in the Bhairavi Rag. Used the Bhairavi Rag to inspire him when he was asked by Chitra Sena in the 1940s, 1940s, to create a song for the ballet Ravana. And this is the Rama Valapilla, which he composed and sang for Chitra Sena's ballet Ravana, based on the Bhairavi Rag.
හත නැගෙන මේ සෝමේ
Listening to the Rag Bhairavi as played on the flute by Pandit Praveen and listening to Sunil Santha's Rama Velapilla, some may not even know that there is a connection, but there is a connection. You see, Sunil Santha was never a servant to the Raga music. If he took any aspect from it, it became his own. And sometimes it is not possible to discern the Raga features because he has beautified the Raga as it were to such an extent. Listen now to the Rag Pahadi, a Rag depicting joyousness and a pensiveness in mood. And I will tell you why I'm playing this Rag.
Looking for a chance to learn and get real work experience while earning real money?
This is the Pahadi. Based on that Rag Pahadi, Sunil Santha created a very beautiful song, Meho Paluane, describing the love between Prince Salia and Asokamala, Chandala girl. Now, he created this song, Meho Paluane, based on the Pahadi Rag, and as you listen to the song, you will find that it is more beautiful than the Pahadi Rag Alava that you listen to. You will also discern the diversity of the songs that Sunil Santha created. How very different from the Daruna Lavila of Reka, how very different from the old Unenum Neriyarangala are the songs based on the Raga, enriched by the Raga, but Sunil quality is there all the time.
Kudasun matui kudadin palali kudadin palali paluane sipatune sami hirolan hinei Kumat dengu bernepi Ubagi telpat Rajini kima Pada jamu ini mana mali Malah welene magi Malah welene magi Nalapina adukangi senehini etil neti raja sekele simlu reti lulu dara simlu reti lulu dara niku paluanegi.
Sorry, I can't play the entire song for lack of time. Now, Sunil Santha recognized the universality of music. He demonstrated at one time that certain melodic blocks, which could be identified as raga in origin, were found in Western music as well. And the raga that he took was the Bhupali, and he demonstrated by singing certain English songs how the two have merged. So he poo-pooed the idea that West is West and the raga is purely Eastern, and he showed that all are admixture and the beauty can be appreciated whether you are Western or Oriental, as we have demonstrated now. listen to Sunil Santha singing the Bhupali Rag. And as soon as he finishes singing the Bhupali, and you will recognize the beauty of the beauty that he imposes onto the Bhupali Rag as he sings the first characteristic melodic component of that, and then sings the English songs where this raga melodic block is incorporated.
සුනිල් සාන්තයන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන මధుර මధු වැඩසටහනේ අවසාන අංකය මුළු ලොවට පොදු වූ එකම හෝඩියක් ඇති හේයින් අපරදික සංගීතයේද ඇතැම් විට හින්දුස්ථාන රාග රූප පහළ විය හැකිය.
The Bhupali Rag, sung by Sunil Santha. How he sings the Western songs.
Ga pada sa sa da 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 pa ma da pa ga pa pa da sa da pa ga sa da sa re sa da sa pa da ga ga pa da sa sa ga pa da sa sa da 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 pa ma da pa ga pa pa da sa da pa ga sa da sa re sa da sa pa da ga pa da sa sa ga re sa sa da sa pa ga re sa re ga re sa sa da sa pa ga re sa re ga re sa ga pa da sa sa da 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 pa ma ga pa pa da sa da pa ga sa da sa re sa da sa pa da ga pa da sa 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 da pa ga re sa re ga pa re ga sa sa da pa ga re sa re ga pa re ga sa sa da pa ga re sa re ga pa re ga sa ga pa da sa sa da 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 pa ma da pa ga pa pa da sa da pa ga sa da sa re sa da sa pa da ga pa da sa sa pa pa da sa da pa da sa re ga re sa re ga re sa pa pa da sa da pa da sa re ga re sa re ga pa da pa ga re ga pa ga re ga sa pa pa da sa da pa da sa re ga re sa re ga pa da sa re sa re ga re sa re ga re sa.
Beautiful, isn't it? He's singing the pitch that he keeps, and this was in the 1960s, not in his heyday, when he was a recluse almost, that he sang and demonstrated the Bhupali Raga. Now we have no time actually to go over. From the Bhupali Raga system, just to give you a flavor of the artist, listen to the Baila songs that we have. Sandesh with
රටවල් අල්ලන්න සූරයා අතුරු රාජමාරයා මුළු ලෝහොල්ලන්න වීරයා පුරුෂ කීර්තිකාරයා රටවල් අල්ලන්න සූරයා අතුරු රාජමාරයා මුළු ලෝහොල්ලන්න.
Create a new baila tune. Our baila singers also have traditional tunes, but Sunil Santha is one who created new baila tunes. Here's another one that he created for the Sandesha, Pun Sandhavadiyai, beautiful song. Now I come to a time signature just to complete my presentation. The time signature, now see the top one. It is 3/8. See the bottom time signature is 6/8. Listen to the metronome playing. These are the Cafrinja lances, the Cafrinja tunes given in one of my books owned by my maternal grandmother. See the time signature. It is 6/8. The baila melodies of Sri Lanka go by the time signature of 6/8. Sunil Santha composed Kokilanade in the time signature of 3/8. This is his own songbook that he published, 3/8. Now 3/8 and 6/8. Here is the 3/8 beat going on the metronome. Here is the 6/8 again going on the metronome. Can you see the similarities and the discrepancies? And this was recognized by our baila singers. They are a very talented group. When they listen to the Kokilange, they realize this is 6/8, and that by increasing the tempo, they can easily make it 6/8 in the time signature. And this is what they did. Listen to Sunil Santha singing Kokilange first.
Kokilange Kokilanade, Kokilange, Kokilanade.
But you take 2 hours.
In a hand in wage.
Another 10-15 minutes.
Jati Jati Malin Suwanda Murabi, Watin Pitin Sitin Sulan Hamani, Samadana Sende Subang Edini. Anne rat mudaki lele magi kumari yal totile perimuni dale kokilayange kokilanadi kokilayange kokilanadi in handi
singing there Kokilanade in the 3/8. You want to listen to the baila version of it. See how beautifully the traditional Sunil Santha's Kokilange is made into a baila tune and sung by our Vada baila experts. And I play this for you to introduce to you different sort of music that Sunil Santha.
Dialogue, the truly unlimited experience in Sri Lanka.
Refresh the everyday with Mentos candy. Yes to fresh.
කිරෙන් රන් රැස් වී දුවා තීරුයි කවදද බැබලෙන ඉර අවර කිරෙන් රන් රැස් වී දුවා තීරුයි කවදද බැබලෙන ඉර හඳ පෑයුයි කැකුළු මලට කබරුන් ලොල් වෙනවද කුකුලන් උඩුගුවනේ ඉකිලෙනවද කකුළු පැටව් කෙලින් ගමන් යනවද මකුළු දැලෙන් මාළුවෝ අල්ලනවද යාළුවේ අද පාළුලින්නද එළුන් නෝලු පිපුණද
කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ හීන හදින් හීන වගේ නැගී සාති සාති මලෙන් සුවඳ උරාවේ වටින් පිටින් සිසිල් සුළං හොමන්නේ සාමදාන සැදැසුවක් හැදින්නේ අන්න අන්න ඉරත් මුදේ ගිලෙන්නේ මගේ කිරිල්ලේ යාළුලිල්ලේ අදුරි දැල්ලේ කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ හීන හදින් හීන වගේ නැගී සුදු සුදු අන්න සඳත් තිබෙන්නේ සාදු සාදු වේදෙසයි බලන්නේ එපා එපා සඳේ නිකන් දැවෙන්නේ ඇයිද මගේ සුදා මට යාදරේ අන්න දෙව්ලියෝ අවේ වෙපලා ගීත ගයන්නෝ කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ හීන හදින් හීන වගේ නැගී
සත්තු සර්පයින් පයින් යයිද අපි වගේ ඇත්තු නගිනවද උසමිනි මංගිගේ සත්තු සර්පයින් පයින් යයිද අපි වගේ ඇත්තු නගිනවද උසමිනි මංගිගේ
පලු ගහට එකතු රහතරට නැව්වද
කළු ගල් මත වැත්තන් කවිලිව්වද
පරුණ කුටේ අදේ කවුර වැව්වද
කළු කැඳ ගම්බඩ කොටුවක් වැව්වද උලත් එකමුතු ලැබෙයි ගජමුතු නැති වුණොත් කම්මුතු
කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ කෝකිලයන්ගේ කෝකිලනාදේ හීන හදින් හීන වගේ නැගී
Baila singers. Wunot ekamutu, labei gajamutu, nati wunot kammutu. Fitting perfectly into the chorus of Kokiriyange. Now, before I leave Kokiriyange, I would like to play instrumental performance to explain a few features.
Hello viewers, today I will play a classic Sri Lankan piece called Kokiliyange, which was composed by a Sri Lankan musician Sunil Santha. This is my piano composition and I hope you enjoy it.
the sarpina play isolated notes, whereas the violin, and that was a beautiful exposition of Glsg on the piano. Beautiful, very talented exposition, very enjoyable. But the piano can never play the internotes that Sunil Santha used to sing, and for this we need the violin exposition. Listen to the violin. First articles that Sunil Santha wrote in one of the newspapers, he speaks of the style of singing which is called Mir. Mir means you don't sing from Sa to Ri. You sing from Sa, but he recognizes that there are intermediate notes, sounds between the two notes. And he says specifically, in the Oriental singing, we can't jump from note to note. We have to sing the intermingling notes as well. And this is why I demonstrated that even though the piano version is beautiful, the Sunil Santha voice swing, the Sunil Santha vocalization is seen only when you play it on the violin or the sitar, and he was a master of both instruments. I will now skip Shona Bonjure, and I come to this statement, Sunil Santha Ivarai. Now, why do I bring this up? In 1960s, when he was invited to record under the Surya label, some of his songs, and he did with the help, as I said before, by with practice Denipitiya, he came out of the studio with the statement, Sunil Santha Ivarai. That is, he was not satisfied with his own singing. He was such a strict self-critic of the art that he was manifesting. That is because his voice at that time had hardened a little bit, probably because of the surgery that he had to undergo, because of probably sinus nodules on the larynx, and subsequently the Mir that he wanted to sing could not be expressed fully. That is why he said Sunil Santha Ivarai. In the 1970s or 60s, is it, when the Ceylon Bank of Ceylon was sponsoring the Aradhana program, Amardev sang, Victor Ratnayaka sang, and the bank authorities were very, very keen to have Sunil Santha participating in the Aradhana program. So they sent famous Riapa singer, a bank official, and also a famous cricket commentator to meet Sunil Santha and ask him to participate in the program. Sunil Santha refused. Appa Singer told him, "We are paying 5,000 rupees per program. Please come." "No, I will not come." "We will pay you 10,000. I will not come." The bank had authorized Appa Singer to offer even 20,000. And then he offered him 20,000 and said, "Please come." And Sunil Santha's reply was, "Appa Singer, I must die as Sunil Santha. Mama Sunil Santha ඇතියට මැරෙන්න ඕනේ. මට දැන් නියම ශ්‍රුතියාල්ලලා ස්වර කියන්න බෑ. I cannot sing the swaras in the perfect pitch that I want. Therefore, I will not come." Victor Ratnayaka told me that in the latter part of his career, when they were singing the chorus for his Madhura Madhu, Pancha Madhura programs, he would do the full composition and then stand at the back, and he would not come to the microphone. I would, Dennis, Edward Jayakodi, Victor Ratnayaka, etc. would come to the top and thing. Now, this was the Sunil Santha. I just mentioned that because When you listen to the word singing of Sunil Santha in the perfect recordings, at the back of your mind, you must know this singer is singing Mir. In between the notes, he's singing the intermediate, which Tony Donaldson, a great expositor of Sunil Santha's music, says it is called blending the pitch, bending the pitch. The pitch bends, merges into the other note, and that is what is important in Sunil Santha. Now, I think we will skip all this for the simple reason that I just don't have the time to go into all this. And I will play just one song, The Jungle Moon. This Sunil Santha script, look at under the word Sunil Santha is the Italian words, waltz moderato. That is, he's composing a waltz. 3/4 is the time signature. He's composing a waltz. And I now play for you the original recording of Jungle Moon, where the waltz tempo is played by the tabla. The tabla is not playing the normal tabla teka, but is trying to play rather the waltz tempo, and you will realize that once you listen to this, and later I will give you another exposition of that. Here is Kalaya Handa. Listen to the tabla at the background. Listen to the tabla. Now, Sunil Santha himself recognized that the Pirunuye Somisande, which was a moderate waltz rhythm in moderate tempo, the waltz in moderate tempo, would be more beautiful actually if he took out that tabla and introduced the traditional scene. So he composed a new introit for the Pirunuye Somisande, mimicking almost the Emperor Waltz of Strauss. Listen to the introit of Pirunuye Somisande and then enjoy the song as he plays without the tabla in the second recording of the song. Isn't it? A beautiful waltz. The internet too does not have this second recording. They only have the first recording, but the second recording I think is better. And he brings out the beautiful waltz quality of the composition that he made in the jungle mood. Before I forget, when he sang this Bhupali Rag, the English songs, I couldn't mention the English songs that he was singing. He was singing Bernardine from Pat Boone's Bernardine. He was singing a few strains from the Donkey Serenade. He was singing Stephen Foster's Old Folks at Home, Old Man River of Paul Robeson, and the traditional English song Greensleeves. These were the 5 songs that he was singing in the Swara Lapa using the Bhupali Rag melodic structure. I forgot to mention the English songs at that time. I will skip all these. Munisiripa, he imitated the Buddhist Spiritha because I don't have time. I have already taken so much of the time. Now this I must play for you. That was a Catholic liturgical hymn, the Sanctus, composed by Bach in B minor. Now, Sunil Santha also composed the liturgical hymns for the Catholic Mass. And it was not recorded. He never recorded it. But one day when Ivo Dennis came to meet me with his wife, whom I was treating at that time, I requested Ivo Dennis to sing this and record this. Ivo Dennis, as usual, refused. But then his wife told him, Dr. Mechar Asaving Illaneka Dennis Megakala. And then Dennis agreed. And he recorded the liturgical hymns of Sunil Santha. And probably this is not commercially available anywhere. But I would like to play that Sanctus that was played by Bach. This is the Baroque style that Sunil Santha was imitating. Not imitating, but following. By Bach, Beethoven, and the Baroque composers for the Mass. Sunil Santha's composition for the Sanctus, sung by Ivo Dennis.
Sundevu Mahimatave Sundevu Mahimatave Sundevu Mahimatave.
Please increase the volume. The beauty is heard when the volume is increased.
Saminu Devi Suranane Asa Polo Ekavage Kobe Mahima Empire Hielo Hemayatehan Hosana Vereunege Namate Himitu Mannama Vanino Hueti Maha Hosanna Vireunege, Hosanna Vireunege, Hosanna Vireunege.
I believe that if it is sung with a full orchestra, with a full choir, Sunil Santha's liturgical hymns will even put Bach's Mass into the shade. Now, one of the final songs that I want to play, Hukulu Havilda. You see, Sunil Santha was inspired by the rhythms and the flow of melody in the nature, but he was also very sensitive to the latava, he said, of the old crones in the village, pleading before the god to bring justice to her because a rogue has come and stolen her fowl bird. The Kukulu Havilda, I will play this because I want to demonstrate what is called the cross-generational appeal. You see, this is a very rare theme, singing about a kukula. But still, listen to it. Rabi Al-Tennakon wrote it. Sunil Santha's Dudanodabida.
Susanod bin bandate the kand deurad samini. Susanod bin bandate the kand deurad samini. Magi kupulane tu Magi kupulane tu Tadayin palu yaka Magi kupulane tu Tadayin palu yaka Kawangik putatina kakain
Sunil Santha sang Dudanada Benda in that style. Later it was reinterpreted by our younger artists. One is this, where they introduced the Katarakama Edin and the Sanskrit Katarakama Stotras into the song, making it more traditional. I have no time to play it in full, but we can do it. Bringing the Dudanodop in the song into more traditional aspects, bringing the drum and the Katarakama Yadin into it. But there is another exposition of Dudanodop in there also, where it is made more modern. Just listen to this song.
Samine Mage pupula nasuleka Mage pupula nasueka Tadaya obage palu yaka Mage pupula nasueka Tadaya obage palu yaka Tava eka budatinak kaka innata ida nodi maka
Quality, the humbleness of the original song is now taken out in the new interpretation, where the God is almost ordered, get up from your slumbers and come to my aid, as it were. and the enticing nature in which the song is being sung. This is important, I think, because of the concept of what is called melodies sans borders. For Sunil Santha's melodies, there is a cross-generational appeal, and they are interpretable in various ways. And I, for one, do not condemn any of these interpretations because I think Sunil Santha also may have approved it. I quote from Rabindranath Tagore, the sign of greatness in geniuses is the enormous capacity for borrowing, very often without their knowing it. They have unlimited credit in the world market of cultures. Only critics are ashamed and afraid of borrowing, for they do not know to pay back the debt in their own coin. In every case, there is only a faint fragrance of an extraneous musical idiom in a Sunil Santha song. His music was and is always characteristically Sunilian and uniquely indigenous. I have come to the end of my presentation. There's 8 minutes more. I think I exceeded my time anyway. But I must talk of 2 experimental songs before I finish, though you must be tired of the songs of Sunil Santha. And I will speak on polyphony. What is polyphony? Where several melodies are sung together. And there is one song by Sunil Santha where he sings Male, 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 a simple song on a village rural pond, where there are 3 melodies. The first melody is only Sa, Sa and Re. Sa and Re, 2 notes only. The third melody has 5 notes, Gama, Bapa, and the Dha, and the Ni. And the third melody also has 5 notes, but that is sung on a higher octave. Beautiful merging of the 3 melodies, but I have no time to be explaining in detail, but I will play the song for you. Melodies going hand in hand. Playing the third melody.
Mali, 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 Luli upan Mali,
Pium upul vile, Pukul legum kole, Bingun demu deli, Bili giya male.
Mali, 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 Nilarian Mali, 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 Tuli upan Mali,
Walaguan tali, Bidi kandan jali, Siung kalapine, Renggung balan mali.
Mali, 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 Nilarian Mali, 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 Luli upan Mali,
Wanding emu nali, Gati vida
Ali,
Mandi mani duli, Iti gamin mali.
The third melody, never sung, almost impossible to sing. I enjoy that song so much that I let it play the whole. Polyrhythm, I have no time to talk about that. I will now play the last song, the very last song, and then stop. We will skip all this. We cannot forget Ivo Dennis, who sang all the experimental songs of Sunil Santha. Now, my last song, I must remember Professor Senarath Parnavithana, who read the inscriptions on the Sigiri mirror wall and deciphered 685 Sinhala verses written in Archaic language. And one such song, Hamal Maru Dahastuyu Hassandalla Turugal Kohal Hu Maragali Hella, is a song, is a verse written either in the 8th or 9th centuries AD on the Sigiri mirror wall. And Sunil Santha, in one of his experimental programs, decided to set to music this archaic poem. And it is now presented to you not the way Sunil Santha sang it, but a brilliant exposition with dance done by the expatriates in Australia. And with that, friends, I will conclude my presentation. experimental songs that Sunil Santha sang were for the programs Madhura Madhu, Pancha Madhura, and the Ridivala. It is said that Sunil Santha went to his grave believing that the tapes on which these programs were recorded had been erased. Even when we were looking for these tapes about 15 to 20 years ago, we were told these tapes do not exist. They have been erased. They were damaged. But sometimes where the higher-ups can't find these tapes, the people low down, the laborers can find it for us. And we traced these programs, the Madhura Madhu, and then released the Pancha Madhura and the Ridivala, so that we have been able to restore the songs which Sunil Santha himself believed that his recordings have been lost. He went to the grave, it is said, believing that his recordings were lost. But they are not lost, and we have now revived this, and we will be preserving them for posterity as it were. Are you interested in knowing what the Hamal Maru song means? It describes a strong, very terrible rainstorm in the Sigiri grounds. The winds were strong, the song says. The winds blew, and the trees were felled by the winds. Streams of water fell down from the Parvata, from the Sigiri rock, and the fireflies were flying about and lighting up the creepers in the vicinity. And the maiden has sent a word to her beloved, asking him to come along. But what is the use of that? In this rainy season, no one can enter the abode of the princesses who are living in the Sigiri palace. So that was the meaning of Hammal Maru, set to music by Sunil Santha. So, friends, I have finished my presentation. I had to skip through a lot of slides, a lot of tracks to finish on time, but I have exceeded my time, I think, by about half an hour or so. But I hope you don't mind, just to give you a gist, the wide range and the beauty of Sunil Santha's music. Thank you very much.
That was a wonderful presentation, Ruvan. I can, I mean, I didn't want to even walk out to go to the toilet or to get a cup of tea because it was so absorbing. So this is the time for questions. I will probably start with my question. I know that Mahendra is waiting to ask his question, but my question probably is a very quick one. You mentioned that Sunil Sant was experimenting with various different techniques, polyphony you mentioned. Has he ever used harmony? Because Dinesh Subasinghe, in his version, he was using harmony for Sunil Santha's songs. When Sunil Santha was living, has he ever used harmony in any of his songs?
In two of his songs, yes. Muni Siripa is one song, and the other one is, it doesn't come to mind now.
I think it's Kurlu Adare, Doctor.
That's right, Kurlu Adare. Excellent. That's correct. Kurlu Adare is the song where harmony is used, yes.
Thank you very much.
And if I may excuse, yeah, there's one, actually another one. It's not technically the harmony, but it's a combination of counter melodies rather. Mal Gumu Gumu Gumu. Actually, I was writing the score. It's a coincidence, actually. I was writing, analyzing some of his music in the morning. So I think for the question, he haven't purposely, gone to the extent of the polyphony, rather the contrapuntal, what you call the beyond homophony. I would say from monophony to polyphony is the way that you can express yourself musically more elaborately, more like going into more deeper, layers of imagination. So I think in that case, the last one that Doctor just played with three voices, I mean, from the tonic chord to the dominant chord. So he can stay in one note while the rest of the voices, take different parts. So I think when you look at Sunil Santha's melodies, so I don't technically, agree with Doctor when he says that lots of folk elements had been used in his music. So I happened to learn Sri Lankan folk music under Sunil Santha's great disciple, Ivo Dennis. So Ivo Dennis. And I think it's very rare finding folk elements in his music in the more purified manner. But some derivatives, of course, can be there, as Dr.
Derivatives,
mentioned.
yes, I agree. Nadika, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eh,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, you're
So,
absolutely correct. Now, what he took was, he took melodic blocks from the folk melody, but he never imitated any of the folk melodies, and it is very difficult, even in the Sigiri song, Lullaby, unless he told us that it came from Adade Imaru and demonstrated how he developed it, we may never have guessed it, that
That's
this was
right.
the origin.
Yeah.
But then that was his creative ability, to start from that melodic block. But I think by taking these melodic blocks and incorporating it into his melodies, strains of the folk melody, which is there ingrained in our psyche, are stimulated. And that is why Tissa Sekar and even myself, who I was a great lover of the Kavi in my childhood, you see. And when we hear this, it doesn't sound extraneous to us. It seems complementary to the musical psychology that we have.
That's how he merged, these
Yes.
musical forms into the more modern things. That's
Now,
really
you
interesting.
won't
Yes.
find in Sunil Santha's music the folk melodies as you would find it in the works of, say, Makuloluwa.
Yeah.
You don't find it.
That's true.
You don't find Makuloluwa's. Makulolu was basically almost copying the folk melody, But Sunil Santha never copied anybody.
Yeah, he didn't make it the prototype to create his own stuff. And even in Dr. Ratan Jankar's presentation into 1952, before the Royal Asiatic Society in Ceylon, he emphasizes the fact that the one nation should incorporate with their own folk melodies rather than incorporating with other musical elements from other traditions.
Even Ratan Jankar in his presentation there demonstrated how he listened to the Irish folk songs and then recognized the raga melodic blocks there. This is there in the Royal Asiatic Society lecture on by Ratan Jankar, isn't it? Yes. So I think Sunil Santha was developing on that, but it was a beautiful representation that he made on the Bhupali. You see the way Sunil Santha sings Bhupali, you will not even imagine that it is a raga, because the voice is so controlled and the voice is so, it brings out the beauty of the raga, let us say.
Yeah, actually, I think when it comes to Oriental music, it's more the timbre and the musical, accents, especially the timbre. I think Sunil Santha doesn't take that timbre. I mean, politically, he didn't take it. Ideologically, I think he refused both Hindustani timbre as well as the Hindustani melodic phrasings. Even though, as you said, like even when he incorporates with ragas, he doesn't bring that authenticity of the raga. Rather, he would deconstruct it.
When you bring it up now in his Christmas song Bala Bulandavu, it is based almost completely on the Malakauns rag, but he breaks every raga rule in that song. I have given it in my book. He willfully breaks where the Vargiya Swaras are there, he brings it in. Where the Swaras which have to be Pramukha there, he discards them. Now, this is because of his independence, and I think he willfully, now even when he's singing, the ornamentation in the voice, which he can sing with gamak or something, he refuses to sing.
Yeah.
He refuses to sing. Now, when Amar sang his Buddhist song, what is that?
Munisripa.
Not Munisa. Not Munisa. At the end of it, he brought in a the classical Hindustani ornamentation. And I know personally that Sunil Santha spoke personally to Amardev and said, the initial recording is better. This ornamentation and the frill that you introduced at the end of it is not appropriate. Now, what is that?
Yeah, I think that is Adavanu Deneting Galana.
Absolutely. Adavanu Deneting Galana. Correct.
It's somewhat interesting. It's somewhat interesting to find out the psychology of. Actually, you've done it, tried that in your book, Dr. Ruvan. Like, what made Sunil Santha to deviate from what he learned? So, I mean, spending such a long time and putting an effort, staying in India with lots of hardships. So, what made him to leave that tradition that he had learned aside and to look for a new identity? I mean, that what kind of a psychology would have behind it? That's something that we should look into it as well at the same time.
Yeah, I think, yes. He revolted. You see, he revolted. The word that can be used for Sunil Santha's change in psyche was revolt. He revolted against what he had learned. He had now imbibed everything that Hindustan classical music could have given him, becoming first in the first division, etc. But he himself says that it was the works of Kumaratunga that made him change. Though he says that, I have a reservation for the simple reason that I have now traced in my book, I published it, the letters that he wrote to the Sinhala about their paper in the 1930s when he was a pupil. Interesting. And they are long before he has read Kumaratunga. He was advocating a pro-Sinhala attitude in our culture and in our music, and saying even in our dress, there is nothing to show. And then I think when the Kumaratunga was the catalyst, that the seeds of revolt were there in his psyche, and Kumaratunga's Hela Ranagi is the one that he was quoting. And that was the one that he was, that was the catalyst in bringing out the revolt in full force.
And we shouldn't forget the fact that that was the time, that was a very crucial time when we were like during the 20th century. The higher classes of the stratas of the society, for example, those who were dealing directly with the British societies, or the I would rather say the British the governance, and they were technically like supported to go to Great Britain, and I'm in London right now, and to incorporate, like, to get the involvement of the natives in governance. So this social stratification and the class society had been forming at that time. Identity was a huge crisis point at that very point. Everybody was thinking about the identity against the British culture, against Catholicism, like Christianity. And the most interesting fact is that we were looking for political identity, and we were looking for religious identity, as well as we were looking for like cultural identity. So in that very case, it's very interesting to see that each and every category above I mentioned, like the political identity was against the British, the monarch. So the people who went to, the natives who went to who came to Great Britain, they came back with socialism. So the other, in that case, the other became the British or the European system, and for the religion as well, the other became the Christianity or Catholicism. But for cultural, identity crisis thing, I think their other became very interesting. Other became India, not the West. So I think that there's something interesting about it. So that is also something that we should take into consideration when it comes to, because one social strata, for example, Devar Surisena, the pioneers in Western classical music in Sri Lanka, they came to London, the Great Britain, in terms of learning law, and most other, many of them came to study law, because there were a lot of lawyers needed at that time back in the island. And as Professor Sarat Chandra, states, like calls them the Sinhala Madhyama Panthiya, or the Sinhalese middle class, they turn towards India, because Papa Vimochana, especially the sage Rabindranath Tagore, his emergence, I mean, in the scenario, made a huge impact on the Sinhala Bauddha society. Sinhala middle class. So the higher classes, those who descended from the monarchs, like the higher classes, when they went towards Europe, the single middle class went towards India, and India became eventually their other. So I think that has to be that is found in especially in Sunil Santha's case, I suppose.
This is very interesting. This is very interesting, Nadika. Now, when Kumartunga was analyzing the cultural intermingling, his position was that if the West is extraneous to us, India is also extraneous to us. His position was that we should reject both India and the West. That was the philosophy on which the Helaula was built. Because he said all that is extraneous. His point was we had a culture which was more ancient, more glorious than what anything that India could boast. Because for all you know, the Indian culture and the architecture that you see now is all Muslim.
Mughal.
We don't see the Hindu culture is there only in the literature, even in the Hindustani music. You full well know the influence of Iranian music into the Hindustani classical music.
That's right.
So Kumartunga's idea is what Sunil Santha was bringing in, which was if the West is extraneous to us, India is extraneous to us, what we take from both of them will be supplementary to what we ourselves are developing from the indigenous music that we have. Now, though you say that you can't find the traces of Palkavi, etc., folklore in Sunil Santha's music, it is not my contention at all. It is what Sunil Santha himself has said. This is I'm quoting his ideology.
Yeah.
And it is written there in his article. And it is also reiterated by his wife, Leela, who said that once he told her, I want to create this. And I want to base it on the Palkavi, on the Janakavi, and the Vanna. Now you listen to the Hita Atapa that I played, no?
Yeah,
Which is
just play.
the alternative melody of Gajaga Vanna. That song is hardly heard these days. It's hardly heard. But the alternative melody is what Sida is Kulatilaka in its Dahata Vannam gives us the Vikalpa Tanu of Gajabha. And then when you analyze it, you can find on the Virita, the prosodic structure, as well as the melodic development and the style of singing. Of course, Sunil Santha was classic in this. Whenever he sang a raga-based song, he refused to sing in the raga style.
That's right.
It was only in the Piruniya Sunil Santha that he was singing the waltz that he sang it. That was a beautiful exposition when he sang in the waltz without bringing in the tabla teka. And when he sings the Hita Atapa song, he willfully suppresses the Vannam style. But you can sing it. I'm sure you can sing it better because you will sing it in the Vannam style and try interpreting it in the Vannam style.
Yeah, that's really interesting what you said.
I hope you revive it because you are brilliant in singing Marang Hinsare. And
thank you, Doctor. Actually, when we really look at chronological aspect, when you look at Sunil Santha's melodies on a chronological aspect, what I see is I just actually wrote it down. I mean, I'm working on this book called Music from Monarchs to Peasants, because there's one huge portion of it like why we are being highly an unmusical nation. This is a question that we need to raise. And when it comes to his melodies, you see a kind of a evolution from his first attempts of melody making. I would say with the facts, with the recordings and recording qualities, and I'm in this. I believe that Wareng Hinsare and Kukulu Havilla are based on this prototype Bondure. When you really write down the melodic structures and the sequence of notes and the melodic contour rather, so you see that similarity. And in the next phase of it, you see stepwise melodic construction in Sunil Santha's melodies. Especially
definitely Shantiniketan, no?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Kukulu Havilla, Sunil Santha himself said he is just following the Gamilata.
No. But when you look at the melodic contour, Dev Samine, Na Samine, that motif is there.
Yes.
That motif is there.
Bondure is a folk song from Bangladesh, no?
Yeah.
It is a folk song of the Bangladesh fishermen.
Yeah, that's
And
that's the prototype. What I say, I mean, when you really analyze music in a musicological aspect, I mean, you know what I mean. So when you write down the melodic contours, special points in these bars are overlapping. I mean, totally 90% more than 90% is. I mean, that influence can be there. I think that's psychologically also good because he had to have some kind of a support to get rid of his harder learned Hindustani music. So I think it will be fair to believe so.
I think Nadika in one of the
Sorry?
Yes.
No, sorry, I was.
Yes.
No, I think in one of the programs, Nadika has illustrated the difference of how this Varan Hinsare was influenced by
Bondure.
Bondure. I remember in one program you illustrated very beautifully.
Yeah, thank you. Because that's seen there. And when you really listen to the YouTube audios, I mean, if you can do it now, the way the all three songs start, it's obvious that all three songs were recorded at a stretch. Because it's like when it starts with the harmonium with a perfect fifth chord, and then comes the voice, the vocal part of it. And the recording quality is the same timbre, same instrument, same thing. So I suspect that, I mean, it shouldn't be at a stretch, but they all three have the same recording qualities, same timbre, same instrumentation, as well as same melodic pattern. So I think what I propose is that for Sunil Santha to get rid of or to refuse the huge amount of knowledge that he gathered, spending such a long time and money and his life, he had to get hold of something new, something which he can go beyond with. So I think, and from there onwards, it's obvious that he didn't stick to that also. Those were the only two songs that are based on either Rabindra Sangit, I call it Rabindra formula, because Rabindra formula. So and he moved on from there onwards as well. Then he comes to that the melodic contour where he has like stepwise notes, like consequential notes, like from diatonic progression, and then he comes to the triadic, like kind of arpeggiotic melodic structures.
One, no?
Yeah, the melodic, like the arpeggiotic. Those are arpeggios. Those are like triads. So you can see that his progression, his evolution in musical thinking, how he used all these elements up to a point where he wanted to reach there, and then he would just leave it aside and he would go beyond. I think that,
now, when he came to the Sigiri songs, what is your analysis?
Doctor, that's very interesting. I mean, I think unconsciously or consciously, he had used this sequential note pattern of the Sri Lankan folk melodies. So, in the diatonic progression, like for example, like what's this? I'll sing it. Hamal maru jahasiyu hasandal starts with the tonic, la 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 la, tonic and third and the second major second and the third. And then the leading note, ta 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 ta, sequential four notes, ta 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 ta, hamal maru yahasi hasan dalla turugal kalu malgal la gananim nut kalakala rambala palla kana yediga tadun asun kumala. So the progression goes from the tonic to the third and coming back to the tonic once again and slightly touching the leading note and comes back onto the tonic. I mean, this is the folk nature. For example, like say, I mean, that's
so
the
your contention is that the Sigiri songs also have a folk
some
melodic,
kind of a folk, because Arahat Vandana,
no,
for
that's very
example.
interesting because
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Because that's the sequence of the progression, that from tonic to the third to the second.
You see, in the Sigiri songs, he used the udakki.
Yeah.
It was the udakki that was dominant. And the instrumentation is dominant by the udakki rhythms. And it is very interesting because the udakki rhythms were used by the Kavikara Maduwa And Tony Donaldson, in his analysis of the Kavikara Maduwa, and then when he wants Sunil Santha's, compared it with the Sunil Santha's songs, also brought in this comparison. So I think it's very interesting that you bring up that the melodic structure. I did not realize that.
Yeah, the other thing is that when it comes to the Kavikara Maduwa, in one of my books, actually, I discuss about it. What happened to the tradition that we used to have in the royal courts, not among the peasants, but in the royal courts, especially in the 12th century AD, which is like mentioned in Tupan's and Dharma Alankare, Sadharma Ratnavaliya, like those chronicles. Like 65 types of bearers, like percussion instruments, plus the rest. And in 1826, John Davies' record, we find only 5 instruments. Udakkiya, Kammattama, Thalama, Horanava, which is Nalava, and Gattaberi. So what happened to the rest of it? So obviously, those 5 instruments were incorporated, like used in Kavikara Maduwa during the time, like 1826 record of John Davy mentions it.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that the Sri Lankan nation as a nation, we have little musical
inheritance among the peasants. Yeah, who are the majority.
Yes. Majority. As a nation.
Yeah.
Now, don't you think it is because we don't have a stringed instrument in this country?
Now, yeah, exactly. Yeah, now, melodious instruments.
The stringed instruments are not there. It's only the atata, vitata, vitatata, which is the pancha, turiya, which are all percussion. Yeah. And also the susira, of course, agreed. But then that doesn't have the versatility of the stringed instrument, no? Now,
yeah, Doctor, at one point, that's a very interesting point, where like even in Louis Nell's record, that's a very, I think that's the most elaborated record of observations, like the record based on the observations by Louis Nell, who was the editor of Dutch Burger Union journal, Dutch Burger Journal.
That is Dr. Nell, no?
Yeah. Louis Nell, yes, exactly, Louis Nell. Yes. So in which he, brings out the most interesting fact about the music of Sinhalese, that he compares the Nalava with the German flute, what we call the Western flute, the brass flute. And he says, like in the Nalava, you have the consequential notes, but in the flute, you have, C somewhere and E flat somewhere. So it's not in a pattern. So he says, like, whereas our music, what is Western classical music, is the creature of science, Sinhalese music is the creature of the instrument. So our nature of music is based on the instrument. So each and every instrument, I did a long research on the caste system of Sri Lanka, and to check whether there are any caste who used to like manufacture instruments. There are no such castes who manufactured instruments. So even during after the 17th century, music drops down to the lowest. Yeah. So we don't have the string instruments.
In India, do they have the castes where they manufacture string instruments?
Well, not recently, but their caste system is somewhat different from ours, because even though Sri Lankan caste system is based on Indian thing, like from 6th century BC, but their thing is that music is a common subject among common people. Like everybody can sing, everybody can dance. Whereas our music is kind of, for some cultural and religious reasons, it was restricted for a certain crowd, certain social strata. For example, this is the simple question that I ask. We'd been under the Indians, and we'd been under the influence of direct or indirect influence of Indians for centuries. Do we remember any of Indian melodies? Or at least, do we remember any of English melodies? I mean, English, they just left the country about like a couple of, decades ago, like not even a century. So do we remember? Because we don't have that musical memory, Doctor. I mean, musical memory is a cultural thing. Neurologically and bioneurologically, anybody, within the evolution of the mankind, you have that ability, but a culture should enhance it. If you don't have it in the culture, we don't have it. So our musical memory is gone. The only musical phrasing that we remember is Buddhan Saranam Gacchami, the Pirita.
No,
where,
but we remember our Palkavi, we remember our one nam, so we remember our folk melodies.
not
We
the
remember.
not the majority, doctor. So we can't justify that, because I lived in Hikkadua when I was in my grade 3. I was living with my grandparents. My grandfather was a Govia, and he had his own paddy fields, and the culture was different at that time. And I haven't heard a single folk melody that they are singing, but they lived a archaic lifestyle. And what I heard, the only thing that I heard was once a week or twice a week some ritual. So I mean, we can't necessarily generalize the fact that, I mean, we'd been singing folk songs, everybody sang melodies. No, I don't. I'm not there. But of course, I mean, some of us, when we recall, we had heard some melodies. We had heard some. We had some people who, used to sing. Some grand ancestors of ours. But I thoroughly believe that our musical memory is gone long ago. That's why we can't memorize melodies.
Yeah, musical memory was prohibited, no, by the Kathikavatas. The Kathikavatas prohibited that. So that is why the Natya Gita Vadita prohibition
exactly.
may have contributed to this.
Yeah.
But even though that was for the Buddhist clergy, there is no necessity why the laity should have rejected this as well. That's an important point.
Yeah, it's very problematic.
Deva Surya Sena says that other than the polka veena of the beggar, we can't find any evidence of a stringed instrument in Sri Lanka.
That's true. That's what John Davis says. John Davis has illustrated it.
Yes. And that is reiterated by Deva Surya Sena from his research as well. Now, it is interesting about this Janakavi. Deva Surya Sena also sang the Janakavi, but his style of singing was highly operatic. Now,
but the melodies are the perfect notes.
Perfect melodies. In his case, he was very, very faithful to the melody. Isn't that so? When he wrote it down.
Exactly.
Yes, but it did not catch up with the people.
I mean, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. But still, those melodies carry the authentic Sinhala singing style. I mean, of course, I don't agree with you.
That is not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, Sunil Santha's melodies caught up with the people. You see, caught up with the people. These melodies spoke to the psychological, the musical psyche of our people. Whereas the pure melodic singing of Deva Surya Sena did not. It was a failure.
Yeah, can I add something, Doctor? I mean, this is, I think we need to come into some kind of, common grounds where, most of the people of Sri Lanka, more than the majority of the people of Sri Lanka didn't have a medium to consume music. Up until the 80s, the major medium of musical consumption was for the peasants or for the common man, the majority of the society, was the cinema. That's why Jyotipala became the people's singer. That's why all these people who came through cinema became politicians and people's, heroes. And we didn't have a medium. The common people didn't have a medium to listen to music. And I remember in the 80s, I mean, not far. In the 80s, 1985, I was in Hikkadu, and we didn't have a radio. And I didn't listen to music at that time. That whole year of mine, I spent without listening to music. My parents, they were living in Nuwara, and they had a television and they had everything. But I was away from this, what do you call it? This right.
Nadika, that is the same for the Western countries also. No? Now, before the radio and the transmission came, it was just chamber music or the wandering minstrels. So,
totally agree.
Even the wandering minstrels and the chamber music was, I mean, in the Raja Sabhavas, it was there because the Sandeshas are describing it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Agreed. You know that Sunil Santha himself had written on the history of Sinhalese music. In one of the newspaper articles, he has quoted from the Dalada Shrita from the Dupamansa Saddharma Ratnavali, and I have reproduced it in my book. You will find it in the initial segment. He's tracing the history of Sinhalese music. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
May I just have an interjection for both of you?
Yes, please.
Related question. So the first question to probably Nadika. I have heard about this Ravana Hatta, which is a stringed instrument. Is that a real instrument which was used in this country or not?
Well, I mean, we need to come into terms. Like I would ask a simple question: if Ravana is there, Rama is also should be there. Ne? Now, where is Rama? He should be somewhere there. So historically, I wouldn't be talking about. I mean, that's the mythology. That's mythology. That's beautiful poetry by Valmiki. Poetry and mythology can be surviving for centuries. But I mean, the simple question that I ask, I wouldn't go beyond this because this can, produce lots of whatnots because people might, they have their own beliefs in Ravana and, Helavad and this and that. So Ravana, I mean, I've been to India. I've seen lots of primitive instruments of that nature. I was in Egypt for some time, and they had the same type of. I mean, those are primitive instruments. Anybody could make such instruments. In Africa, you get lots of that type of instruments with minimal, materials that they can produce and use, especially with one string and a bow. I mean, that's almost everywhere. But this very reason that it is called Ravanahatha can be that Ravana story is much more, part of their culture in India than in Sri Lanka. So you remember, like before the Dasata, before Udasata, Ravana's story was just a mythology. But who made this Ravana story, turn that into some realistic elements and brought it back? So what my observation is that is a primitive instrument. Indians, they can call anything. Probably, I mean, they call it because they have something to do with, they believe that it has something to do with Ravana and his story and epic thing. But the same instrument was found in the same thing, made out of a coconut shell. Same thing is in John Davis' illustrations, John Davis' record. That's what he says, that that only string instrument was found among the, beggars of in the city of Kandy.
Polkatu.
But that was not called Ravanhatha. That was not called Ravanhatha at that time.
No, that was not called Ravanhatha. But now, if you go into the history of Sinhalese music, at the time of Kuweni, when Kuweni's relatives were murdered, at that time, the wedding ceremony that was going on among the Yakshas had exemplary music according to the Mahavansa.
Sirasavatupura, the city.
Yes.
But at that time, Professor, Doctor, it's obvious, like 2,500 years ago, music was, I mean, 48,000 years ago, Neanderthals created flutes, right? That's in Professor Stephen Mithen's, conclusion. 48,000 years ago.
From one of the bones, no?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obvious that musical behavior had been there, but in the civilization, Indus Valley and all these civilizations, it's obvious music played a huge role with the state and with the religion. So those two institutions actually had something huge to do with music. It was supported by the state and the religion, and on the contrary, the state and the religion were supported by the music. So during that time, music was developed into such a...
Sunil Santha Nadika is to show that if there was a hiatus in the necessity for music in this country, Sunil Santha filled that gap without any push from any institution or from any sponsor.
That's right.
There was no Sarat Chandra to promote Sunil Santha.
Promote him, yes.
No, there was no...
That's why I say, like, music from monarchs to peasants in my book, I discuss about it, and how Sunil Santha became the gap to bridge this, connection from to a society that didn't have the...
And the exclusion of Sunil Santha also you must address in your book. That was also artificially done by the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Because the bureaucrats were brought in to nullify the propagation of his music from the Broadcasting Corporation, Radio Ceylon, and then there was no other way for a musician to...
That's right. That was the only medium. No.
Only media except the gramophone records.
Yeah, he didn't go there.
He refused to go.
He refused to do that, yes.
Which I think it was very foolish because he refused to commercialize his music. That was his point. I will not commercialize my music. He refused to commercialize his music. That was also a contributory factor to his downfall.
Yeah, even
Because
I did it, Doc. Like even I never produced anything with the producers because I knew that they are going to exploit me. So I have from 1995, 1908, all my music is with me, all film music, all the stage drama music, compositions.
yes,
I
but
don't
then
sell
you have
them.
other media to propagate it, no?
I mean
You have
now,
the
yes,
TV,
if I
you have the
want, yes.
internet, you have everything.
Yeah, if I want, but back then, I mean, 10 years ago,
That's
I
right.
didn't have that also. But I
Yes.
totally agree with you in that very case. But we can be very happy because his disciples, especially C.T. Fernando, brought that tradition forward. I mean, in several of C.T. Fernando's melodies, it's like you see the same authenticity that of the Sunilian music. I just call it Sunilian music as you said it. I can call it the pre-Sunilian and
I think it
post-Sunilian.
came from Patrick Denipiti.
Patrick Denipiti, exactly.
Series Mahabharata Kale, everything is Patrick Denipiti.
Yeah, Davasage Dantika Tika Gadura Batina.
Oh, yes.
The same melodic contour.
That's
and
right.
Even Akare. Helahaula Akare can be seen in CT's thing. So I mean, in that case, even though he was kind of stopped and blocked there, his musical legacy actually through his disciples moved on. So I think that's something really interesting.
That is the important thing. Now, his musical legacy, I think, should be preserved in two ways. One is, as it is, as we have recorded, his authentic voice, but also new interpretations of his songs.
Yeah, that's true.
It is quite possible to allow it.
Actually, when I did Varangin Sare, that became an instant hit because the guitar chords and arrangements, just the voice and the guitar, because that was, appreciated by many and everybody started singing the song.
Singing it, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Those are the two ways that we can.
Kukuru Havil, which was a very remote song.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
remote song.
That's right.
Now it is a very popular
everywhere.
song.
That's
but
how
nobody,
things come
nobody understands the words because Rapiel then the language is rather archaic. But nevertheless, the melodic beauty of the song is appreciated. So I think this is what is called by the sociologists the cross-generational appeal of art.
Yeah, that's
right. So every generation, and this is true art, because like any classical art, every generation can appreciate it, not like the pop music or the jazz or whatever that you will forget after a few years. But this what has got lasting value because generation after generation it speaks to the true psyche of people. So I think it's a very interesting discussion. And we are waiting for a book on peasants for monarchs to the peasants.
Yes, Doctor. I'm still completing it. I'll think about your aspects as well. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, and great to have listened to your presentation and everybody's inputs. And thank you very much for having me also with you.
Nadika, when do you think you can complete your book?
Actually, I'm almost finishing it. I'm writing the conclusion right now. And actually, in my book, I have the first part is about the history of music of Sri Lanka, how music had been incorporated with only the upper stratas of the society. For example, from the 6th century, actually, I'll start the story from the 6th century BC. Before that, there are no traces of music. So 6th century BC towards the 1500s, and then from the towards the 20th century. And then from there onwards, I talk about the contemporary music, where gramophone and the theater, nurti, and all these music sphere, helped the urban culture to be enhanced with music. And then comes Sunil Santha and his his parallels and his contemporaries. And in the second part, of course, I do. I have named it, titled it as Decoding Sunil Santha, Decoding Sunilian Music. So to decode Sunilian music, you need to think of the melodic aspect of it, musical structure, musical form, musical texture. So that's it. And actually, there's a special chapter for musical identity of Sri Lanka. So all is done. Now I'm like gathering all these things.
Who is the publisher? Who will be publishing it?
I call it Swang Publications because
I publish it.
Print karanna I'm thinking of getting this. There's this nice place that I did one of my books, Clarence on Pop Sangeeta. So I'm going to do it.
Because I am sexually, I didn't come to Sri Lanka
Nadika, I don't have any of your books.
by post.
Definitely, actually, I'm gonna, and there's another book of mine coming, a well-balanced music diet. So that's all about that how you make a music diet.
Yeah, I saw that.
About Sunil Santha, and you
Yes.
want to clarify it. The word that I used to put Sunil Santha's thing, what is called urban folk music. You see, now this term has been used, urban folk music.
Yeah.
Folk music people sang about the Hena, the Pal, the Patal Kavi, etc. Nelum Kavi. That was their culture.
Yeah.
Now we can't be singing Patal Kavi because we are not in the Patalas, nor are we in the Henas or the Pal Kavis. But when you go on a trip, the first song that you sing is Old Pipila. The second song that you sing is Handabane. Now, this is why this has become
urban folk. Yeah.
I say it is the urban folk song.
Yeah, that has a sociological terminology.
This is sociological analysis. So if you want to play Sunil Santha, this I have a slide on it, but today I didn't have time because I have gone on and on and on for 2.5 hours. People must be tired of us and our discussion also.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, now if you're writing on this book, now I have finished my writing part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. I mean, I can't even imagine of that type of collection.
But urban folk song, if you want to play Sunil Santha somewhere, it is
that's where he
as artist in the urban folk.
I'll mention you. I'll give you the right of the terminology.
No, I don't want it. But Sunil Santha deserves it. Sunil Santha deserves it.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
that we want to do justice to this man. So he suffered a lot and suffered a lot for this thing. So thank you very much, Nadika. It was very enjoyable. And I think it was Jayant who was from Australia joining us.
Yeah.
So Nadika, before you disappear, before we conclude, I have a proposition for Nadika and a question for Ruvan as well. Nadika, would you like to address this forum at a future date?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm delighted to. Yeah.
Would you please give me your email on the chat? You can send it to me privately, or if you don't mind sharing, you can do it as well.
Yeah.
While you do that, my question to Ruvan, or probably a challenge, Ruvan. So you mentioned about Deva Surya Sen, and you mentioned about Deva Surya Sen's music didn't catch up with the Sri Lankans. Now, my idea of Deva Surya Sen is I don't think he actually did anything for Sri Lankan music, but actually he's the one who introduced Sri Lankan or our folk music to the Western audience. Now, in our church music, Deva Surya Sen is at the top, in the Anglican Church. All our the service is entirely based on Deva Surya Sen's music, and it's still being used. So that's the contribution.
You're Anglican, are you? You're Anglican.
Well, I was an Anglican, but now I'm more in good.
I'm Anglican.
Yes.
And just to tell you, I was fascinated by the melodies that Deva Surya Sen composed.
Yes.
At the instigation of his brother, of his cousin, Bishop Lakdasan here. Baddagam. And do you know that we have now traced Deva Surya Sen singing his own melodies for the singular liturgy? It is from the SLBC archives. I'll send it to you.
Oh.
Deva Surya Sen, and you see, the Gajaga Vannama is the one that he brought in for the Gloria. Sunil Santha composed original melodies. The Sanctus that we played, that is in the Baroque style. You play it with an orchestra, with a chorus. Deva Surya Sen is completely different style, but beautiful. He sings the Angus Dei, the Lokayage Paudulukan, the Deviange Batlu Potake,
yes.
on the Parukavi. That is the Parukavi. That is a beautiful, and we have the original recordings in Deva Surya Sen's voice, but nobody is interested.
Well, there are people interested.
You brought it up. I was delighted to hear it.
Yeah. I basically have his book, which was accompanied by a video, sorry, not video, a CD, in which he's singing his Kavi.
We have more recordings than what is there in that this thing, because the Deva Surya Commemorative Society didn't have it. When I spoke to the person there, they said, no, we don't have any of the things that you have. So I gave a copy of it, but then by that time the book had been published, and of Sri Lanka we sing, no?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Are you going to do a book on him as well? Think about it.
On Deva Surya Sen. But it has already been done. It has already been like the Deva Surya Sen commemoration.
Yeah, but that's
And Deva Surya Sen himself has written his autobiography.
Yes, yes.
His autobiography is there. His Lanka Gita Valli is there.
Yes.
So the text is there, but we have not made use of the music that they created. You see, we have just let it be in the archives, and that's all we are doing it. But Deva Surya singing the Parukavi is a treat to listen to.
It is.
So
let me just see whether there are any other questions. I know that Mahendra had a question, but I don't know whether he's still here or not. Any other questions or comments before we conclude? Because this became, 2 for 1. So we got 2 experts.
I'm very sorry to have taken up so much of time, but still I had to do justice to the topic.
Yes, you have done justice, and also we very much appreciate Nadika's contribution as well. I'll probably get him on a separate day to address us. Any questions? No? Okay, in the absence of any further questions, Ruvan, it was fascinating, and I can't believe now it's our time is 5:25. So we started at 2, 3, 4, 5, so 3.5 hours almost. And I did not stood up from my chair. It was so fascinating. So this is the time when I would like everybody to show their faces and put on their videos so that we could thank you in our traditional manner. Not many people are left, but we had about 60 odd people at the start, Ruvan. It was a pleasure to listen to you. So thank you very much once again from SLLS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
See you, Dr. Ruvan and Nadika. It's 3:30 in Sydney. Okay. I am never bored, Dr. Ruvan, listening to Sunil Santha. You know that.
I said thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ruvan. This is Lanka.
Lanka. Hello. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye all. Bye.
Bye.